Okay, well, this has been a wild ride for the first week. I only did two, and I left for the weekend. I did say I was gonna come on yesterday, however, I just completely forgot I even said that. So sorry for those who were waiting for me. But yeah, I am back early today because I have an event I have to go to later tonight, so we can't do a late night stream. But however, I do have a lot of free time today, so let's get on to that. Alrighty, so let's bring this one over here. Okay, so as you can see, we're back to playing Ace Attorney. I will probably I want to do a Fall Guys stream one day, so maybe I'll get on that soon. I don't have it on Steam though, so I may have to figure out if I want to buy it again for Steam. But yeah, Fall Guys would definitely be something I would be definitely interested in trying. But for now, let's stick to Ace Attorney. So as you can see, we are back at Madame Tussauds, the Museum of Oddity, as she claims it. It's honestly, this museum is pretty cool in my opinion. I really like it, and especially with where we left off, it was with Sholmes and just him being him. It's honestly like the greatest thing to see him just being himself, which can get him in trouble. But there are, like I said, there are times where he just genuinely knows when to stop messing around and actually like be serious about something. So yeah, give me 1 second, just getting some things, last minute things done. Okay, so let's continue where we left off, and we left off with us asking Sholmes what we wanted to do, or what we need from him, not what we want to do with him. I mean, look at this man. How can you hate him? He's just gorgeous. What is this place? I don't know, Mr. Naruto. Why did you ask me? Why did you ask me? Madame Tussauds came to London from France 3 years ago, as I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of the Tussauds family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine. This is why I hate his voice. I trip over myself too easily with him. Ugh, that sounds grim. Yes, it's quite gruesome indeed. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expressions of the faces of the condemned.
Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the site of the executions.
That really turns my stomach. That's just one of several legends about the Tussauds family. Whether there's any truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum by quite some margin is the House of Horrors. House of Horrors? I feel like Rio's game would be a really good mystery gang member. Of course, visitors' numbers are dwindling now as a result of the great exhibition. But people usually flock here to see the exhibits of some of London's most vile criminals at the gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So they're even stiffer now than the models of them. Why did it sound like I did like the Haunted Mansion ghost host like laugh? I really like that one actually. I should keep that. Have you ever heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. So, the hideous exhibits in here are...
They're all portrayals of real events that actually took place.
Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here. Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he? No, I just want us to pose in front of you again. What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes? Why, Miss Naruto? I'm trying to listen to the wind. Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibit here, catching these criminals in the act. Catching them? Every half an hour, I home in on a different killer in one of the displays and adopt a new pose to ensnare him. When members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does he mean him and the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money! He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may sure could pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous iris to consider.
Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry.
If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruto. What's he threatening to rope me into now? So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have your pick at the murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Naruto, ignore me at your peril. Back to being a waxwork again. Is it just me, or did his final remark there sound a lot like a curse? I don't know. Could be just me. Well, what is it you'd like to ask me? Then. Actually, it's about Lord Van Zeeks. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How'd you find him? Well, I trust. And so I filled in Mr. Sholmes in about everything I'd learned. About Lord Van Zeeks, about Professor Harebrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at university together. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Van Zeek such a different person.
I was sure that you know, Hurley.
You said there was something going on in here, in this exhibit hall before, that something was afoot, and that you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Is he a waxwork again? Mr. Sholmes? He sounded like clammed up. Well, it's just... I forgot this. I lost my... What did she ask him? What he was about to say? Well, it seems we reached the unavoidable. Oh, okay, the unavoidable.
Greetings.
Oh, here she is.
Oh, hello. Where did she appear from? What's she wearing?
Could she look any more mysterious?
You're appreciating my museum.
Sorry? Have we... Mr. Sholmes, do you know that... Not again!
My apologies. I am Esmeralda. The spells. This is my museum of waxwork.
What? You're the Madame to Spells?
Bien sûr. Though only 26 years young, I might add.
That's significant somehow.
I'm a madame in name only. It has a certain je ne sais quoi.
Oh god. Even though I have not taken French since college, I am really trying to do my best here. Also, yes, Ryunosuke being a madame would imply that she's married. She's not. She isn't. I really want to know though. Does being married necessarily make you a madame? Because I do know like a lot of people who are older, like you respect them, you just call them madame. Kind of like this, kind of. Right.
Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks, or rather, one waxwork in particular.
That'll be Mr. Sholmes then.
I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be trial and trouble.
Ah!
She sounds deadly serious.
That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Van Zeeks now?
Let's not forget what Hurley said before, about something being afoot right here in the museum. I mean...
Yes, I know, but...
I'm so curious. I want to know what's happening here.
Haven't we got enough on our plate already?
So, what do you want to know?
Wait, that was German. What do you want to know? Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Tuspels?
I did. I am the third generation of waxwork artisans. You know? Gosh! It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were shattered. Living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. So that is, when she acquired the savoir-faire that leads to the astonishing lifelikeness. All these waxworks really do look as though they're alive. They're alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people on which they are modeled. In the hours immediately following their executions, that is the secret to the extraordinary
Lifelessness. That sounds terrifying.
all walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see.
Ugh. Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying?
Do not fear.
Sorry?
This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians, something for every taste, I hope.
It was Iris who dragged me straight in here, come to think of it.
Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things.
I can only imagine, like, this is, it's obviously a play on of, what's that, Madame Tussauds, there you go. It's obviously a play on that, and I've never been, but I've always wanted to go, especially to see all the different, different singers, obviously, and I do know the one I think here in LA has, a Selena one, and I think that would be really cool to check out. Let's see here. Let's see, the Great Detective Waxwork. What's the situation with that?
Ah, my temporary waxwork model. You approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal.
Oh, what sort of proposal? My dear madame, what these spells? what these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective.
Or words to that effect. Naturally, I am well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective.
It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it.
Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms.
Let me guess. Someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services. For mere £500, I would dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment.
Or words to that effect.
Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch.
Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment due to unforeseen circumstances. So we can use the current arrangement instead.
Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing, though, does he?
I would think not, but he was very insistent.
I have a 50 shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning.
Oh, words to that effect.
Rule of 3.
It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem.
Is the consulting detective work not going so well? Okay, now the last. I wonder, could I ask you something?
Bien sûr.
I'm just curious. Is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps?
Whoever suggested such a thing to you?
Oh, well, it was... Well, he's gone. Your temporary wax worker over there who mentioned it to me a little... Oh. He's disappeared.
A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade.
Ah. Oh. Whoops. Oh, hey Mustang, welcome back. I didn't notice, sorry. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. I see you probably were watching my Instagram story. There you are.
Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working? Do you wish to be melted down?
My dear Madame Tussbells, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem we must throw into the melting pot instead. Hey, nothing wrong with that, Mustang. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police, or Mustang over here.
Why ever not?
She's turned as white as a sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective, whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I insist upon payment in advance.
Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we?
Before I engage in my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain?
That is the Tusswell special exhibit. There is an extra charge to see it.
Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a special killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder?
Absolument non! There is nothing amiss behind there.
Nothing amiss, madame. What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain?
Ah!
I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond before the situation worsens.
Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only as a suspicion.
Oh boy. I think it hurt me by saying, but literally French I took only in like high school and college, and I am really trying my best with French again, but oh my god, this is like killing me. Oh. I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Tuskbell's special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, is the portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. I do say though, he does look very familiar to me. Maybe involved in another case or something, I don't know. Probably in another game. Well then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes. That man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He is a perfectly ordinary London gentleman. Not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as these waxwork are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So allow me to present my two conclusions. Oh boy. Here we go. I've been missing this from him. I love his great deductions. The first is that a sizable business transaction has been taking place in this special exhibit.
What? Why would you say that?
And the second is that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime.
Ah!
She looks as pale as candle wax.
I don't understand.
So, Madame Tuskbells, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. I can only imagine like how he said that. Like, give me one quick second. You know how like most people like in a sitcom or something they'll like pause to say something like under their breath in a way. Let me pull up that line again when we get there. So right here. So when he says, "You shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work," I can only imagine like saying like this: "You shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work." I can only imagine how that could be. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200.
That is all my own money.
So, what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Tuskbells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by the public notice. Waxwork for sale. Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer the centerpiece of your special exhibit for the sum of £200.
No!
Now, let us explore the next curiosity which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear that the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madame, keeping secrets does not appear to be a forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow, of course, was the £200. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively.
What are you suggesting?
He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of £200. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what an extortionate amount he was paying, but the money was no longer in his hands. As a result, the scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. I'm just taking a little break. What is £200 in today's money? I wonder how much that would be, because it's clearly taking some place in the 1800s, and it's Queen Victoria's reign for sure. So it's like definitely within in that span of time. I wonder how much £200 would be. Obviously a few thousand, because I would say. I don't know. I gotta look it up one day because it is like literally bugging my brain. But even then, $350. Yeah, it sounds about right. I think it's still a extortionate amount, and it's gonna be a lot. Like obviously that he lost and everything, but that's why I like Shom's things. It's so ridiculous. But you can't help but love him for the stupid things he says. Not really stupid, just like the most ridiculous things he can say, and really think that that's genuinely the answer. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. I feel like he regrets everything you just said, Sholmes. Sold for cash. Topic number 2, waxwork location. The question arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Sorry for repeating the lines because every time I say it, I have to change it because wait, I sound Australian more than British. Let us consider the problem for a moment.
You cannot possibly.
What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief, such as is worn by policemen as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay.
What are you talking about?
The man's quite a celebrity. He's received triple accolades at last year's policing awards.
But
you could tell she's really trying to make sure he stops because he's going way off, but she can't help but let him keep going. Next, we turn our attention to the old man sitting before him with the particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork.
But you...
Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man's a waxwork is the obvious price tag. Threepence. A tragically low price, you might say. Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxworks riddled with cracks. And yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant £200. The sort of plucky behaviour that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madame?
It's not.
Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. Conclusion: discovered already. Oh boy. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. You're welcome.
You are dead.
I see I've stunned you all into silence.
You have, Hurley. You have. For the worst reason possible. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot.
If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the notorious Naruhodo 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So that would mean that he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Otomo. Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the aether.
And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Otomo.
So you mean that's who's the sinister-looking old man they were supposed to be? Indeed. It is a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember the odious countenance only too well. But is £200 a lot of money for a waxwork model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that puts things into perspective. So, it is quite a lot then.
Is there anything else you wish to add? Before I melt you down.
That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous. Give me one quick second. My dog is wanting to go outside. Okay, give me 1 sec. Alright, I'm back, so let's get back to what we're saying. Now, where we left off, she wants to murder this man.
The smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me.
I have a Chihuahua mix. We honestly don't know what the rest of it is. Probably some part of so one of the spotted dog families. We don't know what it is though, because he is a Chihuahua mix, but he does have spots like all around his face and like a few on his back. Mr. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris, if that's alright, to make some minor corrections to the great detective's great deductions.
Of course it's alright. We'll soon set things straight.
Why not make it gay? Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Tuspels vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Tuspels, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. And here we go. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Waxworks fate. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200.
That is all my own money. Wait, didn't I just say this?
So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast. It would seem Madame Tuspel's. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by the public notice. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true.
But I'm not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks, even for £200.
Oh?
She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything.
For that much money, I would, but it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the £200 could have some other significance.
Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it.
Let's do the old look around. Ha 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 ha!
What's this? What's that note doing pinned on the wall there?
Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tuspels, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is £200. That's a lot of words for only that tiny amount of words with her. Even if it was cursive, that's still pretty tiny. And it goes on. It keeps going. Have the money ready by noon on the 23rd of October. Where does it say that? I don't see it. I only see £200. Oh.
What?
This is... It's just like the sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped.
Yes, it's a ransom note.
Exactly. There we go. Now, time to present this.
Take that!
The significance of the £200 is revealed by the ransom note. I kind of like how that if you played the original Ace Attorney games, I kind of like how I think this is a reference to when you broke their Cyclocks, I think. I don't know. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness, adopting a waxwork. £200 is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it.
The matter in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have.
In summary then, the £200 you have in your bag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is this portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madame, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is?
We could just ask him when he comes around.
I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris.
Yes, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard. We mustn't let him down.
Well, there's little doubt that he suffered a shock. That much is clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tuspel's trying to hide? Let's have a close look around. Aha!
What is this? This is just Madame Tuspel's right hand, isn't it?
Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all.
Oh, but wait a minute. This is the left hand as well. Look!
Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please!
And it seems very stiff too. In fact, It's really hard.
I like how this implies that when we're doing this, like we're looking at the things for the detection, we're actively going around and we're poking things, and they don't care. They don't care. That's why I'm like, this has to be really weird, because it's not like, oh, it's a freeze frame and we're going around. We're actively going and touching the things that they have, and they're just letting us do it. Like, they're just stuck. I don't know.
You mean it's made of wax?
I see, what else could we also have? So we could have done the 200 pounds. Is there anything else that we could have, like, the long? I always wonder, what would the long hair be? Madame Tuspels has very long hair, doesn't she?
Yes, but you couldn't tell looking at her from the front.
You know, it looks rather like a whip, don't you think? The sort of whip that could have floored the gentleman with a single crack.
That seems a little far-fetched, even for you, Romeo.
Okay. Time to present this.
Take that!
What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow.
How could you?
The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that in fact it's a left hand. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madame. It is the hand of a waxwork model. Jesus.
Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage.
So you mean that arm?
Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir.
No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms.
I am afraid I had to teach the man a lesson, so I killed him.
She was the murderer all along. It's not anybody else. It's not even the professor. It was her. You confronted the man and he tried to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped. Kidnapped. The question that arises then is, what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment.
You cannot possibly.
What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is assigned to other policemen that some crime is underway.
A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard.
That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away.
Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course.
Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tuspel's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. What the? The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be.
Ah, well that settles that then.
Right. This isn't a real person at all.
His entire arm's been ripped off from the shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course, that ties in with what we just found out. Let me see the flat cap. I've seen hats like this in Japan as well. They're called flat caps, aren't they? Yes, or hunting caps. Hurley's hat is called a deer stalker, by the way. Hunting. Stalking? The British certainly seem keen on catching game. Every time we see a deer stalker, I automatically think of Mr. Sholmes. But a flat cap makes me think of a Japanese country gentleman somehow. In other words, people from all walks of life wear all different types of hat, so that doesn't really help us. Okay, enough messing around.
Take that!
Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth, of that I can assure you. A lot of people without their limbs would like to disagree with you, Mr. Sholmes. In other words, the man standing over here, the young Sergeant Jean Clay, is in fact, defying all odds, a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes.
He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man.
Naturally, what other explanation could there be?
And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it?
Next, we turn our attention to the old man who sat before him, with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle, almost in fact, as if he were a waxwork.
Ah, but you...
Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is of the obvious price tag. A killer policeman called Artemal, was it? Was he well known?
It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like.
It's a very low price, though. Threepence isn't much money. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrett's delightful lodgings, in fact. Nice tie-in. So this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? The waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for £200. Is the crusty old killer policeman Artemal? Really?
Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see if another idea crops up.
Okay, Sholmes. He wasn't moving a muscle, but you somehow missed this twitching that's going on. Look at this! The old man's tapping his foot like crazy.
He seems to be fast asleep though.
He's not tapping his foot consciously then. So you mean...
It must be a twitch.
Never mind that. The point is, waxworks don't tap their feet. Or twitch! How do they know about this? How do they know I'm streaming? And look at his arm too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? I don't believe it.
It's the secret sign that lets other detectives know some criminal activity is underway.
Yes. It's a slightly strange choice of outfit he was trying to go unnoticed.
Ah, he must be a detective disguised as a policeman.
Or a detective disguised as a waxwork model of a policeman.
He doesn't look like he's clever enough to think of something like that though.
Perhaps you should try to be a little more polite about him, Iris. Alrighty, let's go. That's the Twitch. Chat.
Take that!
The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork model is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, the splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of objectives then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Tussbells.
Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come into the first place. He's clearly fatigued. He is sound asleep.
But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3 pence? No doubt the price of the muffler, tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you observed the scarf tied around his arm. Doesn't that strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway.
Of course, because as you know, there has been such criminal activity happening here. As you deduce from the very beginning, detective.
So it would seem that we finally arrived at the truth. The waxwork of this especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Still a mystery. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary, my dear Mr. Naruhodo.
All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all, especially the drunk ones. They give me all their money. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly.
Don't you dare do anything less than that, girl.
Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I've been led to believe.
It was a pleasure, my dear madame. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted.
Yes, practically it was.
That was German. It was. Then I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork. In as much detail as possible, if you please.
Very well. But after I have told you what you want to know, I must insist that you return to your work.
Okay. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, but I feel, but as you wish. I honestly like how all the energy, they really bounced off each other well, and it was actually a lot of fun seeing how they did that, because I feel like a lot of games don't really have, well, especially games like this where the dialogue is just written and it's not spoken, and it's very hard to really like, how would I say, kind of like picture how that would sound, because when you have dialogue like that, it really helps, especially when just reading, because if you don't have anyone's voices to base off and it's not written well, it's not gonna hit right. But if you just read all that dialogue back, it is actually really well written, and you can still hear the cattiness that she has towards Sholmes. Okay, let's wait. Did I ever present her my badge in the my first playthrough? I don't think I did. Let me see. Okay, so here we go. No, I never did. I don't remember this dialogue. Madame, there's something I'd like to show you.
Yes? What is that? I remarked on it myself immediately, and I've been very curious since.
Well, it's actually the mark of a defense lawyer in the Empire of Japan.
Oh, quel dommage. Not quite as interesting as I'd hoped. Hi, buddy.
What exactly were you expecting from an armband? That was fun. Yeah, I actually never had that one before, so that was actually my very first time listening to that line. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please.
It was some days ago now, when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that the waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed. And I found the ransom note in its place.
The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then.
So, this waxwork that was stolen, it was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose. Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact.
Horrible. No, horrible, they don't say it.
The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other. I would say the Professor.
Not a name I've heard of. Oh boy. So, Mr. Naruhodo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry?
The Professor case has happened at around the time I was born, didn't it?
Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago? Yes, at exactly the same time. Exactly the time that Beric Van Zieks graduated from university, in fact. What? Surely he's not saying...
So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life.
As you've surmised, it was the Professor case. Who was this Professor then?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yes, I would.
Well, I'm not telling you.
Tell me! Okay!
It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in a terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death.
And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is all of this related to Lord Van Zieks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earned such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest.
What do you mean, Hurley?
Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy. Members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves through the country's administration. Members of the... Oh, wait! Of course! But Professor Harebrained said, Lord Van Zieks is from a family with noble blood.
Oh, gosh!
It was the 5th victim that led to the Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of Clint Van Zieks. No! I don't believe it! Van Zieks? I'm sure you could piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Beric pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. Wow. I had no idea Lord Van Zieks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. As a waxwork exhibit.
I am afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well.
Oh, yes, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. It's kind of sad, don't you think? Losing your brother, something like that. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. Oh. oh jeez. I forgot that was her brain. It's been too long, it really has. I'm delighted to see you, Beric. It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in a prison of all places. I can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Asman. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen. Tomorrow, the court will decide. Yes. I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident. A terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it. I must warn you. Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you? Yes. Since I returned to England, I've heard a lot of stories. Beric, are you really? What? Never mind. I know that you have my best interests at heart. My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. Of course, I fully understand. Thank you, Beric. Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court. Wow. Imagine how that must be, having your friend, like, prosecute against you. I mean, like, as I've said at the beginning, I've already played this trial, so I know what happens, and we find out, like, who's still alive. But geez, imagine having someone you've known for a long time. Well, they didn't really know each other that well. They didn't really have, like they said, their paths crossed every now and then, but it wasn't a lot. But they still crossed enough where they got friendly. So imagine someone you're that close to having to argue against you and like very much like try to get you in trouble. It's like, it's not a good feeling. And now we're back at the Old Bailey. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Mr. Nariado. Good morning, Professor Hairbrain. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. Yep, I'm already getting a troll account. Can you believe it? Well, it wasn't even really a troll. It was just like a bot. So, I get rid of it. I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. Yep, it's true. That's when you know you finally make it, when the bots start hitting your account. Well, this is Britain's highest court.
But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure?
I think it's probably all in the mind.
Ah, yes. Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage interstatic kinesis machine from being made public.
Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident.
Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail.
My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo, yet appear to be lumbered with the most tiresome case here. Oh, I was right. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here.
That was very mean, Runo, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Is it? Are you? Sherlock Sholmes?
Indeed, sir, I am he. Sherlock Sholmes!
Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even was living in Germany. Ah yes, Rand's magazine is on sale in Germany too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in the Adventure of Silverblaze was wonderful.
Ah yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall.
No, that was the speckled band.
Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay.
Oh?
I have urgent business at Madame Tuspel's.
You mean your waxwork job?
No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services.
Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you?
The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork naturally. As such, I intend to give my undivided attention.
Oh, well, never mind then. I understand.
Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter would be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description.
Oh, then you must absolutely give it to your full attention, Hurley.
Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. Great, now I want to make a pie.
Oh yes, quite, definitely, absolutely, I totally understand.
Is someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Hairbrain.
Oh, why thank you.
Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please.
Oh, what's this about?
As you've remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis might be, a practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible.
But the professor said the demonstration was a success.
Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was.
I've read Professor Bennybrain's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically.
So he's completely barking up the wrong tree.
But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. I should know. I'm a lawyer.
And it's that contradiction that would be at the heart of the trial, I have no doubt.
What's that supposed to mean?
Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow.
See you later, Hurley. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Runo. But chin up, you can do it.
Oh, what about you, Iris?
Oh, no, I'm afraid I can't help. Can't help. I have something I need to do.
I see.
It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is.
Huh. That sounds ominous.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once.
We're on our way.
Jeez, what did you say?
Nothing. An experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case. Oh boy. Here we go. Oh, it's these jurors. These jurors gave me a very hard time. Not in the game, but just on my voice. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Harebrain. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice. And what's more, I'm without Susato-san today. I already miss her. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odi Asman. Mr. Asman was well known as a financier, but that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court, prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zeeks, but the jury unanimously found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed, by the sound of it. Those powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on the 21st of October, Mr. Asman met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? I don't know. If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused Professor Harebrain. Very well then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty?
I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out important civic duty, my lord.
To have a man's faith in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly. It sends shivers down my spine.
Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Any spurious scholar that defies the reputation of science deserves to hang.
We have to listen to what's said on both sides, defense, and then settle on one. That's it, isn't it?
Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
That's the police killer Artemol lookalike. Again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems.
Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. Although the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one else was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. A tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all of London, no, of the whole world, will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zieks.
At the heart of this incident, it's technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world.
One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage.
The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. My god, Albert, why do you make this so hard?
Good lord.
It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled.
Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? But I don't believe it, that's for sure.
Disassembling people with electricity. My goodness, how shocking. Pun intended.
The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field. I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible.
What is the prosecution's view on the matter?
The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success.
What? What wrong? Order! Order!
Professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asman's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
Thank you, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims.
Gladly, my lord. Whoop, there goes the cape. And now he's hot. Bailiff, show the first witness to the stand. Oh boy. I hate having to do Gregson. I hate having to do Gregson because I don't have a voice for him properly. Witnesses, state their names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation. Albert Herbrand, scientist.
You were born in England but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition. What you demonstrated was incredible, alright? An incredible explosion.
But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done.
Yes, there was that terrible accident, but
the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success.
well, that much is undeniable. As shown in the photograph taken by the forensic investigation team.
Okay, now he sounds Australian. Frank!
This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less. That's right, my lord. Seems the victim rammed straight into it. I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence.
The photograph of the victim has been entered into the court record.
Photograph of the victim. A photographic print of the victim taken after he had ostensibly been beamed to the Crystal Tower. It shows an apparent stab wound to the chest.
As the court said, the victim of the incident was Mr. Eridi Asman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself. I see. So to summarize the situation,
Australian British is, yes, there is a big difference between them. Even South African, because South African accents are I usually confused with Australian. Believe me, like, as much as it is easy to be ignorant about the fact that they're different, they are very different, and I hate having to do that.
the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct?
I mean, right there, they're saying life could be, but how you could say with an accent, it could be either British or Australian. Like, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. That's a bit more Australian. But if you do it with the British accent, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? It's like, Jesus, there's so many things that, like, I have to be careful when trying to do it.
Exactly.
They agree. But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration?
That's right! That must be it! My splendid machine! My poor splendid machine!
You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for the Scientific Equipment Act.
What?
The wreckage! The wreckage! But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act?
Extremely simply, my lord.
I beg your pardon.
Isn't that right, witness?
What? Sorry, me!
No, our neighbor. Excuse me?
Yes, sir. It was murder. It was murder, plain and simple. Anyone can state that with complete certainty.
What? How can he possibly think that?
Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder.
Witness testimony. A front for murder.
The corpse that went crashing through the Crystal Tower had a broken neck.
I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection. That's all. That was my mistake.
But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere. And this fella's the only one who could have done it. An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart.
Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge.
The coroner says the death would have been all but instant from a wound like that.
You could say, in fact,
that the victim was killed twice by the accused.
No, no, and no! That couldn't be further from the truth.
I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. The victim stood himself inside something called the bird cage, ready to be beamed instantly. To the second level of the crystal tower, about 25 yards away. The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair, from where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the crystal tower's large round window. My word. One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower then.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident. A terrible accident.
Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart.
Murder weapon? What are you saying?
This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like to be entered into the court of record. Your request is granted, counsel.
The autopsy report has been entered into the court record.
I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. And the only other person on the stage with Mr. Asman was that the only other person on the stage with Mr. Asman was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
And really, by all accounts, it must have been him.
Hard to think otherwise, really.
Very well. Counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. It's been a while.
The corpse that went crashing through the crystal tower had a broken neck.
I made a mistake.
So let's see. Okay, this is where we take a break. So we try to find the break in their testimony. There's a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. I think this is where we press.
Hold it!
The defense knew nothing of this crucial information.
The prosecution received this report from the forensics investigation team only this morning.
Okay, let's take a look at that real quick. We got to examine everything. So we already know we got this. Okay, yeah. Okay. Hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart, inflicted by a sharp additional. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense.
Sarcastic and insincere?
Thanks.
So what was the nature of this sharp object?
Among the accused tools that were in use at the demonstration One is of particular interest. This. Ah, yes. It would appear to be some kind of screwdriver with a
Aha! There he is. My trusty little companion, Andrew.
Andrew? Of course.
Do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family. Andrew is my flat-headed screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead.
Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank.
That isn't...
It's blood. Beyond all reasonable doubt. Believe me, I've tried so hard not to lick the blade.
No!
Yes. And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound.
What?
Why do I make him sound like a parrot?
Order! Order! The court went into this friend of the defendant as evidence.
The screwdriver has been entered into the court record. So one of Professor Harebrain's tools is the murder weapon. Great. It's me?
So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it.
Let's see. I think I'll close my door. I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine, which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. The details of the screwdriver have been updated in the court record. Yikes. This is blood. Mr. Asmund's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. Why don't you get some of Mr. Sholmes' things, just to be sure? You remember the one that you sprayed with? And to figure out whose blood it is, why don't you use that? It can't be him. Getting it? What grounds do you have for saying that?
Ha! Do you really need to ask? There were only two people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd. The victim, Mr. Ode Asmund, and the accused Professor Harebrain. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive.
That's right. That's right. I saw him with my own eyes.
Furthermore, following the explosion in Kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body. In other words, only someone else on stage with the victim could possibly have done it.
Excuse me.
Professor Harebrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor!
Sorry! I was just calculating the optimal coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body.
And the witness stand is the best place for that? It seemed as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark.
Yes, that's right, of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he? Yeah, that's right. Who else could have been stabbed? Who could have stabbed the victim, eh? I don't know! But There's no way that I could possibly have stabbed Mr. Asman as you say.
Explain, please, Professor.
Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins.
I had heard.
Then surely you see! If I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath! No, a blood-swimming pool!
What?
But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time.
Jesus Christ, it looks like it's like a oh, to them, he looks like a mad scientist regardless, but that makes him look even worse.
And yet not one of them claims to have been seen a swimming pool of blood.
Well, no, I suppose not.
You see? Not one!
True. I didn't say anything like that.
Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument.
Order! Order!
Oh, here we go. Time for the wine. Pray forgive the discourtesy if I savor a drop from my hollow chalice to accompany my old friends at dosing. Here's to you, Albert.
Oh, you're too kind, Merrick, but I'm not really a patch on you.
No, you're not.
No?
You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility.
I have?
A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound.
Of course.
Inspector, enlighten the court, please.
Yes, sir.
Where are they going with this?
Very well. You will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson.
The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been... His body was beamed through the air.
What do you explain this, Grexy? Where is it? Where is it? I see no sign of metal anywhere. I see no murder weapon. Where is it? Where is it? First, let's save here, because unlike a lot of people, I like to save right when I make a bad decision. If only life was this easy. So let's present the thing.
Objection!
Yep, see what happened. See, that's why I forgot to press the statement. So that's why I have to load it again because I'm just that forgetful. Forgot to press the statement.
Hold it!
Why would you think of that, Inspector? But anyway, it's only when you pull a weapon out that profuse bleeding occurs. Once it's still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word. I feel like we had this conversation with Susato one time. Maybe the first trial? I don't know. I see. You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator. Ugh, where's Susato-san when you need her?
If you ask me, this bloke masked what he was doing from view with his body before stabbing Asman in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device, the screwdriver still where he planted it.
I would never do such a thing! Not to my precious tools! I would never use them for such dirty work! You only use tools for their intended purpose. That's common knowledge for any scientist.
The fact remains, the lack of blood on the scene can easily be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated. So that's all the testimony you have to work with. I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Van Seeks keep that to himself until now on purpose, to gain the advantage? Well, I suppose all I can do is press these witnesses for as much information as possible. Okay.
Hold it!
Let's keep pressing every statement just to be sure I got everything. Are you suggesting that because he fell from a considerable height?
Exactly. Which highlights something else about this whole rum business.
What's that?
The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success. Ah. After the explosion, the cage with the fella inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in midair. So although the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur. Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster?
I made a minor miscalculation. The angle of the beam projected. That's all. That was my mistake.
Hold it!
So the angle of the projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself, personally.
Absolutely. The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out.
Only, you got it wrong, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated, even I can make a mistake.
Do people fall for that bracing confidence?
I should try it.
I took into account the subject's height and weight, the wind direction, and the ambient temperature. I considered every possibility variable, so I just don't understand how this could have happened.
Obviously then, you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asman was wearing at the time, I suppose.
Ah! Crackling comets! The answer should have been 3!
So much for safety first. There must be safety for eating third. Why is he eating potatoes out of an newspaper? He's eating fish and chips. That's actually a very traditional way of eating fish and chips. I do know in England, when you eat fish and chips, you get it wrapped in a newspaper because that's how they used to do it. So he's actually eating the fish part of the meal. But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound.
Hold it!
Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense. Oops.
I didn't think I'd have to spell this out for you, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it?
Too right.
Obviously, at first, we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well.
But you're saying that's not the case?
You'll get your answer once I finish my fish and chips, if you don't keep butting in every few seconds.
But we all know that's a bottomless bag.
The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that as the cause of death.
Right. That's what we all thought. But it was a red herring, wasn't it? There was a lesion in his chest where he'd been clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart.
But who's to blame? Let's see. Let me look at all the things. Should present this as evidence.
Objection!
Oops. I'll slide. I always like this the moment there. It should have been found in his body, huh? But this was found at the
Objection!
scene of the crime. You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal?
Look, There was no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world.
Yes, but what about this screwdriver? The thing is, we actually saw it on the scene at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage.
What?
It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson?
Well, now you come to mention it, yes.
Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you can contravene the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act?
No, not at all. I won't do that. I'm only different for her ladyship.
Who's her ladyship?
You want to know her. I just let him look, nothing more. I was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing.
Yes, that's true. This screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it?
What are you getting at?
If this tool had still been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asman, and been found still lodged in the victim's chest.
What? Order! How do you explain this, Inspector?
I mean, no, that's not his voice.
Order! How do you explain this, Inspector? I don't.
It looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously that should have been beamed to the destination as well. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here with the screwdriver. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied on. Lord Van Zeeks is stumped. I forgot that what he sounds like.
Do you have something to say, witness?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mrs. Naruhodo, don't worry.
About what?
Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency.
What?
Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asman's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations.
What? Yep. There goes that bottle. It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation. Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists. Very well. The defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord.
freaking Albert.
To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states the kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruto isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Ashmere was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together.
I don't know, man. I honestly don't know anymore.
So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is
that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis.
in other words,
In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency.
and therefore,
Professor Albert Harebrine could still have been the killer.
My great hypothesis holds, you see? We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason.
I was not adjusting you, witness.
Professor Harebrine,
Yes.
whose side are you on here?
I don't take sides, Mr. Naruto. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist after all.
Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend.
Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruto.
Oh boy, here we go.
To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research.
Hold it!
Your hypothesis states it, so this isn't proven then.
No, of course not. It's merely a hypothesis, but a good one, based on thousands of calculations. But it's widely known that metals can't be decomposed by electrolysis. Yes, of course, so I am right. My hypothesis is clearly correct.
What is it about incriminating himself that makes this man so happy?
It's the whole reason that the bird cage is made of wood, you see.
Excuse me. Sorry, something's in my nose. Sorry, the birdcage?
Yes, that's what I call the obtuse cage in which Mr. Asmer was placed for the kinesis.
So explain why... I already know. But explain to me why his glasses are still here.
The jail cell in which the victim was detained. It does indeed seem to be made of a timber of some sort.
I'll thank you to not to refer to it as an instrument of incarceration, your lordship.
In short,
Any weapon lodged in the victim when he was beamed away by instantaneous kinesis would have been left behind on the stage if it was made of metal, correct?
Yes, that's it. Yes. It all fits perfectly with the mathematical model.
but the ultimate conclusion then is that the defendant alone had the opportunity to inflict this fatal injury on the victim, is it not? Indeed, sir.
Someone beam me out of this nightmare. Okay, let's set this down.
Objection!
Professor Harebrine, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct.
In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Asman is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim.
What? Metal? No! Metal can't! That's not metal! No!
We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should also have predicted that the metal rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place.
Ah! My hypothesis! My hypothesis!
Professor Harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed.
What?
Wait, where did Gregson go? Oh wait, that's right. He left for this one. That's right.
Order! 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 Counsel, what is the implication of this?
If on the day in question the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than on the stage. And in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit.
But my hypothesis is sound! I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work. If I could say something here, in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society.
Yes, juror number 4. Go ahead.
As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. And that's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science. What? Wait! Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect? It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was a complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud.
I say the records of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined.
No! Never! That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis! It's protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What the devil is that blessed act about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule?
I don't like the way this seems to be going. What's the best way for me to help the professor? So, should I raise an objection or wait and see? I think when I first played this, I think I rose an objection. I think so. Let's wait and see what happens. Maybe I should watch and wait for the time being.
My feeling is that the machine requires a thorough examination.
But what about this special dispensation that's been mentioned? Oh gosh, this is all too much.
If it's determined that the machine itself is the murder weapon, I think you'll find that act would apply. Of course it was the murder weapon. Anyone can see that as plain as day.
So we're in agreement, are we? That the machine should be stripped.
But if I don't do something, they'll...
Objection!
There we go. Professor Harebrain has yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so...
Even so what?
Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public. He would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing.
Objection!
He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money. Ah!
If the government was foolish enough to deem the man's ridiculous notion plausible, and he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed. Conspirators?
What would be the value of such a grant? £10?
You're in order to that, madam. £500 a year.
You can live on an handsome on that much for years.
Society noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently, and plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you.
No! I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound. The science is sound. Please, you must believe me.
Objection!
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower, which means that the experiment was a success.
Barrack.
And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused.
Barrack.
Where is this heading? I have no idea. My lord, if I may. Yes, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution would like to summon a new witness to the stand. New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement? They were spectators of the demonstration, the exhibition, who were occupying special seats. Eyewitnesses? Very well. The court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from eyewitnesses to the incident. The prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no postage. The accused killed the financier victim there on the public stage, before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend. Oh, yes? It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me?
We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand.
As you wish, my lord.
Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes.
Wow. That was a lot to take in. Honestly, that was a lot for me to do because I actually forgot the voices I gave all those people on the jury. And oh boy, they bounced around a lot. All right, so I think this would be a good time for me to take a break now. I think actually might be the end of the stream. Yeah, it's been, I think, 2 hours roughly for me, and I am, for one, very tired from doing all that. Thanks, Mustang. Glad that you had a fun time. Yeah, so possibly I'll be on around the same time Friday, I would say. I think around noon, 12:30 again. Maybe I'll switch it up and do a different game. I don't know what I'm going to be doing for that one. I'm still trying to figure out. Maybe I do have what's that one game? I do have Escape Simulator on my Steam, and I do know I've only done 2 of the rooms, two of those big ones, and I do want to do that game. I might do that on a Friday, do a quick break from Ace Attorney, and just have a different stream. And also I think it's just give my voice a break. Yep, I'll see you Friday. I'll put the stream on the schedule by tonight. So yeah, I'll see you guys on Friday. And for now, I think this would be a good time for me to end it here. So thank you guys for coming in. And thank you for you Mustang for sticking around for all that. And yeah, thank you all so much. This was a lot of fun. It's actually my longest stream. I usually ended like an hour and a half, but I actually went on for 2. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Okay, so until then, I'll see you Friday. And with that, I'll catch you later.